And we're back with the program. It is Gerald Glassford once again coming right back at you here. And well, it is that time to look forward. It is that time to look towards the weekend, week 4 in the NFL. And who better to do that with me than my good friend? He is the guru of fantasy football. He is also the host of the Fantasy Football Pater podcast. You got to check it out today. Full episodes are on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and over 30 different podcasts. Plus, he's also on our shows, the PCC Multiverse, like tonight, and the Pop Culture Cosmos on Monday. It is my good friend, the Guru. I can say it today with a little bit more inflection because I actually have my voice back today. It is my yes. The other day I didn't. It was shot yelling at soccer players and yelling at a charity event. Yeah, right there. But it is my good friend. It is Tyler Baker. What's going on, man?
I'm doing well. Who goes to a charity event and yells at people? Gerald, what are you doing? What do you do in your spare time?
You know what? Check out the Retro City Games Facebook page. You check out the video that's 4 hours long. And you want to check out me screaming on the microphone to make sure everybody either comes by and helps participate in that great charity event to help the victims and the families of the victims of the Jacksonville tragedy, the Madden tragedy last month, or they can go ahead and still they can contribute to a GoFundMe account that's set up for them. Just check that out on GoFundMe.com or GoFundMe.org. So check that out, and
good.
Me shouting for 4 hours. It was helpful, I think. I hope. Anyways,
just doing your part.
Just doing my part. Lost my voice, but anyways, it is going to be a great weekend in the NFL.
Yeah.
What things are you pointing towards first that fantasy football owners need to know about, especially with some injuries out there as well?
Well, there are going to be some changes week 4 in the NFL. Jimmy Garoppolo, we talked a little bit about it on Sunday. He is out for the season, so it's going to be interesting to see how the 49ers react to that. CJ Beathard is now their quarterback. I would expect Kyle Shanahan to dig deep and do some razzle-dazzle. You'll probably see a lot of George Kittle in this one, maybe even some of Kyle Kushef. It's going to be interesting. Matt Breida could be the focal point of that offense. Alfred Morris actually showed up on the injury report on Thursday. It could be precautionary, but you don't like to see a guy be added to the injury report midweek. So it's going to be interesting to see what that team's going to look like. Nobody wants to give up in week 4. So I expect them to come out against the Chargers and just kind of put it all out there, leave it all out on the field. But we'll get a sense of what that offense is going to look like after this week. Something tells me it's not going to be good. Another big injury.
Hold on. Before I get into that, before we get into your even more detailed description of what's going on for week 4, I got to ask you, my friend. Was there any way on God's green earth that you actually had figured out or had guessed that after coming into week 4, Matt Breida would be leading the NFL in rushing yards?
No. But you and I talked about it after McKinnick went down, and I said, you know what? There's 2 choices there: Alfred Morris, Matt Breida. I said, we'll have to see how Breida fits into the offense. But I suggested going out and getting Breida, that he was definitely the bigger upside guy. And that's proven to be true. But, that was the first 3 weeks of the NFL. We're in week 4 now. A lot has changed. But I still think that Matt Breida is going to be kind of the focal point there. He's going to be the guy that when they need to move the ball, when they if there's anybody that they want to get into space, it's going to be him. Now, George Kittle has been coming on, and he was actually college roommates with C.J. Beathard. So there could be kind of a connection there. We'll see. But they're going to have to figure out something. And Shanahan is a resourceful enough coach that there is going to be some fantasy value there. I just think you're looking at Breida, Kittle, and maybe that's it.
Well, when it comes to Breida, maybe now is a good time to start thinking about trading him, because he's not going to be at a higher point as far as being someone that you can get a lot of assets back in return.
That's definitely an approach. I've got Breida in a couple of leagues. I'm playing him this weekend, and I'm not looking to trade him, especially in PPR leagues, because even if he even if he only gets 50 yards in receptions, that could be 8 receptions, and I would expect him to get a lot of work.
So what else are you pointing towards when it comes to week 4?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of great matchups out there for fantasy football owners to hone in on. One of the things I wanted to find out was when it comes to the Jets at Jacksonville, the running back situation has been kind of tenuous due to injuries. Can you give us any kind of update when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars and Leonard Fournette, or also as well TJ as well?
You know what? When he first had that hamstring injury, the coaching staff said, "You know what? It's not that bad. It's in a good part of the hamstring, for whatever that means." And we thought maybe 2 weeks ago he was going to play. It didn't happen. Last week, all indications were that they were just being cautious, and is feeling good. Well, he didn't play last week either. This week, it's looking better. That is just one of the situations where it's going to be a true game time decision. With his hamstring injury, if he's ready to go, they're going to have him active, and they're going to put him on the field and let him play, especially with TJ Yeldon having some injury woes too. If he's active on Sunday, play him. If not, don't. I mean, it's just one of those true game time decision deals.
And that's really troubling, because you got a choice between TJ Yeldon, who's really hurt, and Leonard Fournette, who is hurt as well. So maybe going with another back might be the best way, but as long as, like you said, if you got to monitor it as far as a game time decision, but maybe moving into another direction as far as if you have another running back on the roster, maybe keep him on the ready as well.
Yeah, and if you've dealt the last 2 weeks without Leonard Fournette, you have a backup plan, unless your backup plan was TJ Yeldon. And in that case, you're going to have to dig deep. I have Fournette. I already have him in my starting lineup. I'm going to be watching Sunday morning to make sure that he's active. If he is active, I'm playing him. If he's not, of course, I'm going to pull him and I'll put somebody else in. There's another situation in New England. Rex Burkhead is got put on injury reserve with a neck injury. That leaves a really, really interesting opportunity for Sony Michel. I watched some of Sony Michel's college film, and he looked quick and explosive. We haven't seen that yet in the NFL. I think that could be because he's just not familiar enough yet. He's just not comfortable enough yet. Remember, he missed the entire preseason. He missed most of training camp. So he's just getting up to speed in the NFL. So for right now, that leaves 2 running backs there in New England, James White and Sony Michel. I think both of them are worth the add. I think short term, James White could be the better play, but long term, I think it's definitely going to be Sony Michel. You don't pick a guy in the first round not to play him. Once he gets comfortable, once he gets up to speed, once he really knows what the offensive line is going to do, I think you're going to see more of that explosiveness. Well, let me put it this way. Once he's comfortable enough to be decisive, then you're going to see the explosiveness, and then you're going to see the playmaking ability. And this offense is getting ready to change. Julian Edelman will be back next week. Once Edelman is back, and give Sony Michel another chance, or give Sony Michel another week to kind of get up to speed, I think you're going to see a different Patriots team in 2 weeks from now, because everybody's wondering, and it always seems that the Patriots find themselves in a position where people are wondering if they're still good, and then the Patriots do what they do, and they come out and they start playing well. This weekend they have an interesting matchup against the 3-0 Miami Dolphins. So I've heard quite a few people say that, hey, isn't this kind of, hit the panic button? They're 1-2 and they're facing a divisional opponent that's undefeated. I don't think the panic button's yet. Remember, next week Julian Edelman will be back, and for a team that's really hurting at receiver. So I think I'm looking forward to week after next for New England.
One of the things I also wanted to ask you about is something we touched on our Monday and also our Wednesday show, which was Aaron Rodgers,
Mhm,
who was looking kind of hurt as far as over the weekend,
mhm,
still not fully recovered from the injuries that he sustained, I believe in week one, if I'm not mistaken.
mhm. Yep.
Your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers? Is he still someone you want to focus in on as far as keeping him as the starter on your team right now? Buffalo is going to come in, and even though Buffalo just had a nice victory, I don't expect much when it comes to Buffalo, and I expect them to revert back to form when it comes to this weekend facing off against the Green Bay Packers. But will Aaron Rodgers be the one to play with them when they do so?
I agree. I think last week was kind of a fluke. No disrespect to what they did. I mean, they uh, took advantage of opportunity. They got the momentum going their way, and they just kept pushing it. And you have to give them a lot of respect for that win against a pretty good Minnesota team. Um, Aaron Rodgers last week did not look like Aaron Rodgers, and what he does well is he scrambles in the pocket, creates more time, lets his receivers improvise downfield, and he has an amazing connection with them. He's not able to do that hobble the way that he is, but I will say that he practiced today. Now, for the last 2 weeks, he hasn't practiced at all during the week. He just shows up on Saturday, practices, and then they play on Sunday. He was actually at practice this week, so that's a really good sign for Aaron Rodgers that he was at least at practice and at least participating, even on a limited basis. He was there and he was participating. So it looks like his knee's probably getting a little bit better.
One of the things I also want to touch on, which is quite interesting when it comes to the quarterback position, Houston at Indianapolis. Houston, obviously, they've for a team that is not getting off to the best of starts. I still think they've got a lot going for them, especially on the defensive side of the ball. J.J. Watt, 3 sacks last week, looking more like the J.J. Watt that we all know so well. When it
Hmm.
comes to Indianapolis, it was funny because Andrew Luck has had that shoulder surgery. He was out most of last year. They said he was on the mend. They said he was looking a lot better, a lot sharper. So far this year, he's been He's been all right as far as
Hmm.
his numbers are concerned. But a big thing happened as far as with and in the closeout, as far as the game is concerned, on last week for Indianapolis when the coach brought in Jacoby Brissett to
Hmm.
throw a Hail Mary to try and get a touchdown late in the game, I believe, against their previous opponent. And that leads me to believe that that shoulder is not 100%. So if you're a fantasy owner and you have Andrew Luck on your team, is that of some concern if all he can throw is short balls down the field?
I think it is a concern. I'm not reading too much into that. Um, I mean, Jacoby Brissett has a bigger arm than Andrew Luck, and even when Andrew Luck's healthy, Jacoby Brissett probably has a bigger arm than Andrew Luck. Yeah, I'm not reading too much into it. I am expecting Andrew Luck to improve. He has said that his arm strength is okay. He said that I think yesterday because people are asking about it because it does. I don't know if it was a sign of no confidence on the coaching part or whether they just thought they had a better chance to make that play with that quarterback. And I think it's the latter. So what concern you had with Andrew Luck coming into this game, you still have it, but I'm not increasing it. And I have Andrew Luck in a league that I went zero QB, and I'm a little bit concerned. But the more he plays, the better he's going to get, and the more time he has with that shoulder, getting it stronger, uh, the better he's going to be. And honestly, what just imagine a scenario where he put everything into it to get that Hail Mary downfield and it re-enters his shoulder or something like that. So um, I it was a little concerning, but my meter isn't going up too much more because of that with Andrew Luck.
Any last thoughts, my friend, on the way out? It looks like it's another strong weekend in the NFL. A lot of great matchups that are out there. Very
Mhm.
interesting indeed, especially for every fantasy football owner out there. I did want to make sure and let everybody know if you before the real big game start. Before the 10 o'clock game start, please look at your roster and check to make sure you don't have anyone that's starting that's on a bye, because bye weeks start this week.
Yeah.
Want to make sure everybody knows that.
Yep.
Before we head on out, my friend, is there anything else you want to chime in on when it comes to week 4 in the NFL?
Yeah, if you have any Panthers players or any Redskins players, they're on a bye this week, so you definitely want to make sure you don't have any of those. It looks like Devonta Freeman and Joe Mixon are both doubtful. Joe Mixon says he's ready to go. He hasn't been cleared yet. Devonta Freeman is still kind of, inching his way back in. Alshon Jeffrey's been cleared to play. I don't know how much he's going to play. He didn't practice today just because he had some kind of an illness. But much like we were saying that the Patriots offense is getting ready to change, the Eagles offense is going to change too. They just got Carson Wentz back. They're going to get Alshon Jeffrey back. Also, keep an eye out for Doug Baldwin on your waiver wire. He is back at practice. It's on a limited basis. It is kind of a long shot there. He came in with a bum knee. First game hurts his other knee. Now he's coming back. But if he's even 80, maybe even 70% of his former self, he's still going to have really good fantasy production because the Seattle Seahawks are desperate for him to come in so that they can get some production on offense. Also, keep an eye out. Cameron Meredith, formerly of the Chicago Bears, got signed with the Saints. It looks like he's finally healthy. We could see him this Sunday. Also, Kiki Cutie. And we were just talking about Houston and how, they need a little bit more life. You have DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller, and that's it in that offense. Kiki Cutie's a guy that a wide receiver that could come in and do some really good things for him, for them there in Houston. Also, keep an eye out for Hayden Hurst. I don't know if he's going to play this weekend, but the tight end there in Baltimore could become a favorite target of Joe Flacco. He is practicing. Not sure if he's going to play this weekend, but those are just some guys that we want to maybe keep an eye out for.
Once again, it is Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Patriot Podcast. You got to check out our full episodes on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel that's available now on Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and over 30 different podcast outlets. Plus, also catch his segments on our Pop Culture Cosmos show on Monday, and this show again next Friday, when he'll probably just be patting himself on the back after another great weekend in the NFL for his fantasy teams.
Hey,
to rub it in on me one more time.
Hey man, anybody out there that plays fantasy, I know I was talking to a couple people this week that are 0-3. Do not give up. It's not over yet. You can turn it around. You're just going to have to work a little bit harder. You're going to have to watch the waiver wire, maybe pull off a trade, and you can always go to the Facebook group, Fantasy Football Patriot Podcast group on Facebook, and get your questions answered. You could either post on the page or you can send me messages. A lot of guys just send me messages. Maybe they don't want the people in their league seeing seeing what they're asking, which is fine. I get it. But yeah, man, it's going to be another good week in the NFL. And if the game tonight between the Rams and the Vikings was any indication, this Sunday is going to be a good day for football.
And the inside word to you, my friend, that nobody else knows about except for us, hair plugs.
Not a word.
Not a word. It is Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Patriot Podcast. My friend, it's always great to have you on the show. Glad to have you part of our group known as the Pop Culture Cosmos, and of course, right here at the PCC Multiverse.